Hello.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Starbucks with Jim and DiNardo. I am your host, Anthony DiNardo, on this glorious Thursday. So much for a Wednesday show, huh, Jim?
Yeah, scheduling conflicts keep having to bump us to Thursday.
I know, right? It's funny.
It's crazy.
Like, I think it's been 3 straight weeks too, right?
It's been at least 2 weeks, but I think you're right. I think it has been 3.
Funny. So I guess we got back-to-back, 2 shows on a Thursday. How about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're giving the people what they want, which is Thursday content, right?
Sure, we'll say that. Keep it that way. But regardless, so yes, it is Thursday. It is January. Let me look at my phone. Is it? I'm already like. It is. So how is it the 14th?
Yeah,
it's been 2 weeks since New Year's Eve.
It has been.
I can't get over that. I honestly can't. I was thinking about that when it was the 10th. That I was like, how has it been 10 days? And now it's been 14. I don't know, Jim. What's going on with time? 2020 screwed it all up.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just think of this as an extension of 2020. So
is it?
I feel like it hasn't really turned to 2021 yet.
Damn. All right. Well, I guess it's already January 14th. But yeah, so I don't know. Not a whole lot's really been going on in the world of baseball. Obviously in the world of Pirates. Not so much has gone on in my world as well for the past week. I don't know about you.
We've had a lot of things going on here. My wife has COVID, so
really,
yeah, she is sick with COVID right now. Not like anything terrible, but she's not feeling very well. I am waiting on my test results. I'm assuming that I probably also have COVID right now as we speak. But I don't have any symptoms. So
interesting. I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
crazy.
for the best for you too.
Well, yeah, she's already starting to feel a little bit better.
Is she?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah, but we have been locked in the house basically since Monday.
That stinks. Well, no, I had. I mean, I don't know if you want to call it a scare or whatever. The closest I've gotten. I mean, we were over with a friend. And like their cousin, I guess, tested, and then like the whole family tested. So that's why if you saw about a week ago, I got tested, came back negative. I'm fine. That's the first time I got tested. Like I said, the first time there was like a close encounter for me, the closest I've gotten. So that I'm aware of.
I've had a couple close encounters. So this is the 3rd time I've gotten tested. But I probably have it. So
I was nervous getting it. I'll say that. And the reason I was nervous is because knowing how you get tested. And I had the flu, I want to say this might have been 4 years ago. Where I was sick and the doctor just wanted to test me if I had the flu right then and there to determine what it was, right? And I've never had this done before. And he stuck that thing way, way back into my nose. And my God, did I feel that? I swear for the next 3 days.
Yeah, it's not the most pleasant experience. So,
but
yeah,
this I don't know what it was. I mean, they had me do it, and I didn't have to go like that far back. I feel like my doctor went way farther than this one was. So, like I said, I was really nervous when I first went to get it, because I'm like, oh my God, I know what this is gonna feel like. Ugh, one of those things. But like when I did it, I was like, oh, that wasn't bad at all. So I don't know. Maybe I just lucked out.
It's not awful, but it is uncomfortable.
Yeah. So, well, interesting. All right. Well, yeah. Other than that, I don't know. Do we want to get into some baseball talk?
Let's get into some baseball. Yeah.
All right. Well, the Padres have been kind of boring lately, so that's pretty much all baseball talk. I mean, it seems like MLB runs on San Diego these days, but
I saw something yesterday that James Harden was traded to the Padres.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Oh my. I really don't even follow NBA too much anymore, right? But like just seeing that trade happen and all the memes. And what is James Harden doing right now? I've never seen, this season wasn't that long ago, right? The last NBA season. Like, what did he do this air quote off season to get that big? Was he just eating nonstop? I mean, you are a world-class athlete, and it's not like this is Shaq we're talking about, as a big giant man to begin with. I mean, this is a point guard, right? He's skillful. And he's just, oh man, he's making me feel good about myself.
Yeah, I haven't really been paying any attention to the NBA, so I can't really speak on that. I don't know. I don't even watch Sports Center when they. No, I haven't seen him at all. Oh
my God, Jim, you have to. I even saw there was a clip that just happened 2 nights ago, maybe, where in warmups, one of the announcers was like, "Well, James Harden clearly got his pregame meal in." So, it's noticeable. Anyways, yeah, so that happened. I guess also what happened is the Steelers lost to the Browns.
Ugh, yeah.
The Pens lost last night, so it's all on the Pirates, right, to save Pittsburgh. Clearly,
it's on the Pirates. They're the only hope
right now.
Then Pitt basketball. Pitt basketball's like, I think they're on the bubble. Like, I think the last bracketology, Pitt was like one of the last 8 in or something like that.
Yeah, they've been getting better.
Last 8 out. So like they're not in yet, but they were close.
Nice. All right, that's fair. That's fair enough. But I'll tell you what, as far as the major sports, 2024. All right, let's put our future thinking caps on. Right, it's 2024. Right, we'll do like Conan O'Brien in the year 2000. So 2024. Who is leading Pittsburgh sports? Is it the Penguins? Is it the Steelers? Is it the Pirates?
It's a good question. Because the Steelers have some issues, especially when related to the salary cap.
Right.
And 2024, man, unless they can get a quarterback that follows Ben, yeah, I don't know how good they're going to be for a few years. So we could be going back to the Tommy Maddox days where they just aren't very good. And we'll see. I still don't have a whole lot of faith in the Pirates. Like, I think they have a chance, but I'm gonna go with just because I'd say the Penguins. Crosby will still be there. 2024, he'll be 37, so he will be old in sports years, but he's such a good talent. He could probably at least still make that team a playoff team, I would imagine. With some competent people around him. So yeah, I'm on Penguins.
So you're predicting more PPP loans in the future so the Penguins can afford their players then, right?
Yeah, maybe there'll be a new wave of loans, and Penguins can secure some funds.
That makes sense. All right. Well, I think you're right. I mean, that is a good question because And I'm not like, I mean, I'm not a huge Penguins. I'm not a huge hockey fan. I'll put it that way to begin with. So, I mean, obviously I'm going to root for the Penguins if I'm watching hockey. But I'm not like going overboard like, oh, the Penguins are 0-1, so it's disaster. But I think it's fair because everyone
season's over.
Kind of understands the Penguins are aging a bit. So, all right. So even though the Pirates are rebuilding, you're still not even sure 2024. You don't have faith in them. I love it. Spoken like a true Pirate fan.
Yeah. I think they got a chance. Still don't have faith yet.
Well, you know, it's funny. I think it's a really good transition. So something I wanted to talk about, and this could be a very good way of collaborating, you know, with the Steelers and the Pirates here, because the Steelers lost. You could say the Steelers lost. Well, of course they were terrible. I mean, Ben pretty much gave that game away, but Tomlin wasn't at his peak performance either. You know, it's 4th and 1. You're on the other side of the 50-yard line. You're down and you punt, right? And like Tomlin's, one of his famous quotes, and I'll even put it up here. One of Tomlin's famous quotes is, "We don't live in our fears, we live in our hopes," right? That was kind of living in your fears, wasn't it, Jim? Weren't you kind of afraid that your offense was not going to get that first down, and you lived in your fear and you punted it away? Hope for another day.
Yeah, I mean, that was textbook that quote right there. Yeah.
Awesome.
If you can't pick up a yard, and you know when you need to, you don't deserve to win.
So that made me think a little bit too. Pirate fans. I mean, anyone who talks about the Pirates, I feel like, whether you're a fan or forced to talk about them, right? However way you want to spin it. Does it kind of feel like the Pirate fans, especially lately, live in our fears almost about every situation? And for everyone listening, Jim, can you hear me?
Now I can.
All right, so maybe some technical difficulties, everyone. But if you're still listening, I guess I'll go back. I don't know where we dropped off here, but I would say for Pirate fans, you know, and I said for fans and people who get paid, they might even like the Pirates, but they get paid to talk about the Pirates and such, right? Do we all live in our fears when talking about the Pirates?
Absolutely. Literally, all we talk about are our fears. And the fears of being a Pirates fan is that you trade away your good players. Like I feel like that's like 50% of our talking is, hey, what can we get for this guy? What can we get for this guy? When's this guy's trade? This guy needs to get better so that he can increase his trade value, you know?
Right.
For the past few years, it's not, this guy needs to get better so that we can win baseball games. Like that hasn't even been in the conversation. It's this guy needs to be better so that we can trade him for other people.
Right.
Like that's just what we have been talking about for so long. It's just ingrained in our minds that that's just how it is and how it works. And you know, once the Pirates have a good player and they start creeping into year 2 of arbitration, the talk goes from, hey, this player is really good, he's fun to watch, to this player is pretty good, who are we going to get for him? That's just kind of how the conversation shifts with literally anybody.
And like, not even that sense too. Like, I'm thinking about this on myself, and like think about last year. I think the big talk when Charrington took over was, you know, a lot of guys stunk. A lot of guys didn't perform the way they should have. So, you know, with this year, let's get them into the season. Like your Josh Bells, you know, your Musgroves at the time, you know, like Chris Archer, you know, obviously to regain some value and such. So let's go into this offseason. Or I should say, let's go into the season let him perform, let him show out. And then, of course, as we talk about, you can trade him, right? Get your value back and such. But it's like, with that hope, Josh Bell is terrible, right? Like, arguably one of the worst players in baseball. Chris Archer goes down with a major surgery. His comeback attempt, period, we're not sure of. Like, everyone was terrible. And like, this whole offseason is more or less has been like, let's just get what we can. Because it's like, if we go out like next year, these guys could be terrible again. They could lose even more trade value, right? We get nothing in return. Like my whole basis of this offseason is I'm fearful what 2021 will bring. So let's just get whatever we can, opposed to like thinking rationally, like, let's go into this season. Like, we know what, air quotes, we know what Josh Bell is. Like, we know what Adam Frazier is. We know what Joe Musgrove is. Like, go into the season. Let's show it. We can make a better trade at that point in time or such. I mean, like Musgrove, he's got years of control. It's not like he's in his last year, or even 2 years. He's got 3. So that's kind of how like I feel I've been living in such fear of what this season will bring to the Pirates that it's like, let's just get even Tyon. Like, how many times have I said it? Like, when Matt Geico was on, I think that's the first time I mentioned it with him. I've said it a few times. It's like, if we can just trade Tyon right now, let's just do it. If it might be a dime for the dollar, but at least we're getting a dime back. Well, that just sounded bad. Dime back.
At least we're getting a dime back. Yeah, dime back. Yeah. So, and again, I think a lot of people are thinking that exact same way. It's interesting. I think it's just so ingrained in our minds as Pirates fans to think of, all right, so-and-so is somewhat good. That means we can probably trade him for something. I mean, that's kind of, because that's just what's happened with every single situation. For the last 30 years, if someone gets good, we trade them. Like, that's how it's been really since 1992 was the last year where they didn't do that because they were competitive. And so they just kept all their good players until their contracts ran out. And then they got nothing for any of those guys, which, I mean, you could say was probably still the right move because, they were one of the best teams in baseball and they were going for a World Series.
Right.
And then when that didn't happen, it's just kind of all crashed to the ground. And it took them 20 years to recover.
And by the way, I do want to correct myself because when I said it, I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. Musgrove has 2 years left, but still, like, he has those years control. You could trade him at the deadline when, pitching is even more of a premium than normal. But you're right. Like, I just feel like we're just like conditioned to just live in our fears, right? Watching and talking and rooting for the Pirates. And again, I just feel like this offseason, it's never been more relevant. I mean, that's all we've been doing. Like, we're talking about people because we're fearful what's going to happen. Let's trade Musgrove now. When really, like, it could be, if you feel like Musgrove is more of, so I guess, like, take a step back. There's a lot of people, especially on Pirates side, right, that are saying like Musgrove's going to bring in a really good package because here's what he can do. You look at the peripherals, like the strikeouts are up. And really, in the reality is it was the last 2 starts that he really showed it, right? And in a small, shortened season of just 60 games, those 2 starts can make a very big, impactful season for you. And I mean, I'm in the realm that I've always believed more in Musgrove's talents than what he's shown, right? Almost like Chris Archer, like the FIP's always nice, the peripheral is really nice, but the performance isn't always there. And I felt that about Musgrove, right? But you can look at him and say, well, he's a 4-WAR pitcher. Like, what's special about him? So it's like, if you really feel that he's more of like those last 2 starts, you would go into the season, let him show that, right? He can prove himself to be a very, very productive pitcher. And then you trade him at the deadline for, that ransom, because there's going to be a team that, arms are going down, especially after 2020 season. You're going to need some arms this year. And he could probably bring back some very good talent. But we're all just like, don't do that because he's going to get injured, right? Or something's going to happen and we get nothing in return. We're all fearful. Like, really, the smart thing is probably to go into the season and get what you want for him and ensure you get what you want for him. But I don't think that's going to happen. Something's going to go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it go wrong. We've seen it go wrong so many times that, yeah, I don't think Pirates fans necessarily want to risk it. I think, we obviously like Joe Musgrove and we want him to be on the Pirates and want to watch him pitch. But at the same time, he is the team's most valuable trade chip. Mm-hmm. So if this is a team that isn't
28 right now.
Yeah, so if this is a team that isn't going to compete for a while, Joe Musgrove's a free agent in 2 years. Probably not going to be a part of any competitive Pirates team. Mm-hmm. So it just makes sense to trade him when his value is highest.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we've done it with Bell, and again, I feel like that was partially
we traded Bell when his value was lowest. Probably.
Right. I would say that's fear there. Like, I think very rationally.
I don't know so much if that was fear as opposed to, hey, this is just like the best that we can get for him.
I mean, it was, we talked about it. It wasn't a terrible deal at all. It wasn't terrible. I know a lot of people feel it's terrible, but you could easily think that Josh Bell is going to perform and get better. So again, yeah. I think there could have been like, this is a good return. Let's just take it. There could be better. Mm-hmm. And not saying Charrington's living in his fears. I'm not, but as Pirate fans, like, I'm just like, we're all just like straight. He's at his lowest value, and we're like, trade him.
Yeah,
you can't get any worse, and we're like, trade him. So I thought that was funny. And definitely a big correlation with Steelers. Or I should say Tomlin himself and the Pirates.
I feel like that's a lot of Pirates fans is, this guy sucks. We need to trade him. Well, if he sucks, in order to trade somebody, you need someone who wants that player. So
right.
Yeah, so it's hard to trade players who suck.
Unless you're the Pirates. And you trade them.
Unless you're the Pirates.
And then they, perform better elsewhere. Yes. But yeah, so I guess let's transition this because, there's a lot of chatter going on right now. The Red Sox seem to be pretty inclined to trade Andrew Benintendi. There's been talks about it like all off season, but they're really increasing. And then I'm not sure who said it, but there's a source out there more or less saying that, they expect him to be gone by the weekend. So seems like things are really heating up. There's, teams that were linked. I think Oakland was linked. Houston was linked. And then someone put out there, which I don't know if it was actual sources or actual link, more than it was just Charrington was with the Red Sox at the time when Benintendi was there and drafted. But, they linked the Pirates to Benintendi. So obviously, right, it's MLB offseason. There's some type of link, and then we see everything blow up, right? Everyone's talking about it, what they want. There's been 9,000 trade proposals that have been sent out there. That's going to happen, right? This is a done deal for a lot of people. Let's just forget who might even trade. Just Andrew Benintendi on the Pirates for 2021. Does that make sense for the Pirates in the situation they're at to trade for Andrew Benintendi?
I think depending on the situation, but I feel like a player like Andrew Benintendi is a pretty good fit on the 2021 Pirates for a couple of reasons. He's still relatively young. He has 3 years left, before he's a free agent as well. Let me confirm that. 2 years, 4, 5. Okay, 2. Yep, free agent 2023. Okay.
He ends up being the same as Joe Musgrove.
Got it. Okay. So I think it makes sense in a way that this is a guy who clearly broke into the league with a ton of talent, a ton of hype. Number 2 prospect in baseball when he made his debut. He has had one really good year in his 4 years in the majors. He's had 2 okay years, and he's had a bad year, right? So I think this is someone where if you are the Pirates, if the deal is right, Benintendi is somebody who not only can, first off, he's a guy who can play the outfield, which right now the Pirates need. And number two, he's someone that he's a good bounce back candidate for, maybe regaining what he was in 2018. Which if he becomes that again, then you're looking at an extremely valuable trade chip, coming up before he hits free agency. So it's definitely an interesting possibility. I think he would be a good fit on this team. You could slide him right into, I guess, center field, really. I guess you can put him in left, maybe. Yeah, we'll see kind of how that would work. But he's someone who would slide into the outfield, play a position that the Pirates need somebody to play in the outfield right now.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's kind of in that Josh Bell situation where, like, hey, he's shown he can play. He was terrible last year. So where's his value at? What would you have to give up to get him?
Right.
And is there something left there to make him, a valuable player that he can eventually become that? And then you can use him to trade. So I think in that way, it makes sense. Depending on what he would cost.
So then are you really, and I agree. I mean, to talk about him, like, he was a very, very hyped prospect, very good. When he came up, he had a very solid debut. And like you said, in 2018, he really showed out to be a good player, like a 4.5 WAR player. But he's really just been, like, outside of that, just like a guy on a team. And last year, like you said, was terrible. Now, albeit it was 14 games, 52 plate appearances in a crazy season. So it's like, I don't put a whole lot of stock in 2020 to begin with. And, with that being said, like that, I'm just giving that a mulligan. I won't even look at 2020. I'll forget it even existed. Look at the rest of his numbers, right? In his career, like you said, 2 out of 3 years, he's just been on that cusp of an everyday starter. So I guess if I look at Andrew Benintendi, it's like, if we're trading for him, are we looking at this as stock? Like, is Andrew Benintendi more stock or like a future Pirate? Because like you said, it's 2 years left. I mean, there's no reason for the Pirates to be trading for guys with 2 years left on their, I guess, control, right? Because the Pirates aren't competing in 2 years. The question I started us off with you is 2024, right? Who's going to be the better team in Pittsburgh? And you're still questioning that the Pirates would be in 2024. So it's like, if we're not even sure in 2024 that they'll be good, then there's no reason to trade for guys like Andrew Benintendi unless you look at them like stock, right? I'm going to buy and flip. So it's like, is Andrew Benintendi more of that, like a commodity? We're going to buy him low and then sell him high? Or is this someone who, like, let's buy low and then maybe we can offer an extension to?
I think it could be a possibility of both. I think you look at him as stock, though. I think that's kind of where I'm coming at this from. Is you're buying someone who has shown that he can play at a high level, just hasn't done it consistently, and you're buying him low, and you're hoping he can regain that so that you can then flip him for something more than what you traded for. So I think that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at Andrew Benintendi as like a long-term part of this team, but at the same point, that's a possibility. Benintendi comes out, has a good 2021, and he's open to signing an extension. He's still only 26 years old,
right?
Man, that would definitely be a candidate for something like that. So I think either works, but I think I'm looking at this more as you can buy him low and potentially try to sell him for a little bit higher than what you bought him for.
So he's kind of like Bitcoin.
He's like Litecoin.
Touche. So I guess, just in that picture, I mean, that's kind of how I look at this too. And I think more of flip, right? But let's go back to living in fears. I mean, it's like this is written all over this. Like, I'm looking at this, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, he could be a very good bounce back, depending on what the return would take. But I'm just like, I don't know. Like, 2 out of 3 years, he's more likely a corner outfield than a center fielder. And if you're a corner outfielder who's barely getting to WAR, are you really going to be?
You're the best player on the Pirates.
Well, you are the best player on the Pirates, but that doesn't say much, right? I mean,
in the Pirates outfield, yeah.
Tyler's the smartest Pirate fan in the world. That doesn't say much.
True. So, that's very true.
There you go. But it's like, like a 2 WAR corner outfielder, what's the going price on that? Like, not a whole lot. So again, living in my fears, I'm like, does he get back to the 4 WAR player? Is he more the 2 WAR player? And we just gave up something, and now we're losing on him, or we get nothing in return. And I feel like the safe move is to just keep going. Just don't even bother with him. Keep going. Now, I guess let's flip it to what the return would be. So everyone's putting out there all these type of deals and such. I get a Joe Musgrove for Benintendi straight up. Doesn't make sense. I think Musgrove brings more value than a Benintendi. And again, we're talking about 2 years of control. Like, why are you trading Musgrove to get a Benintendi in the same situation? You didn't accomplish anything. You just lost value, and you still have a guy that you're trying to trade, right? So, but the thing is, like, I think what the Red Sox want, though, is major league pitching. And that's not something the Pirates really have to give up. Like, that's it. It's Joe Musgrove. So the trade actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, unless it's something like we go with Joe Musgrove, they give us Benintendi and something else, definitely prospect wise, nothing in the majors. Maybe a Jeter Downs that was in the Mookie Betts deal last year or something. So that kind of makes sense. But again, is it like, do you want to use Joe Musgrove to get a Benintendi and some other type of prospect?
No, like I don't think that's, if you're trading Joe Musgrove, I don't think you're doing it for any sort of major league talent. It just doesn't make sense, like to take your most valuable trade chip and trade him for something that you're also just hoping to trade and get something less for. So no, that particular thing would not make sense. But I do think the Pirates do have some interesting pitchers other than Musgrove. I mean, we're not talking about anybody great, but
clearly,
I mean,
Jim.
but I do think that, like Chad Kuhl is somebody who could be interesting, and Chad Kuhl is definitely someone that I would trade for Andrew Benintendi. So if you're thinking maybe like a package of Chad Kuhl and maybe not necessarily like a top prospect, but maybe someone like who's sitting in like the low end of our top 20, somewhere, something like that. If Boston's clearly just like given up on Andrew Benintendi, what if he traded something like, I don't know, like Cal Mitchell and Chad Kuhl for Andrew Benintendi? Like, I'd probably do that.
That's good. And again, I mean, let's go back to last year. I
also again have no idea. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea if that would be something the Red Sox would want to do. Right. But I feel like if that were the trade, I would be pretty comfortable with that.
I mean, I would too. And this is coming again. I really believe in Chad Kuhl. Like, that's again for the second year in a row, a guy that I'm really intrigued to want to see this year, because I think he can show that he's a very productive type pitcher. But I don't feel like he's shown enough, and that's going to be what the Red Sox are going to be willing to part with for Benintendi. And also just for the fact that I think if there's a team out there that really wants him, they already have a Chad Kuhl or better that they're willing to give up for a Benintendi. So that's just what I feel too. Like, as Pirate fans, we put on these blinders like, oh, well, this matches up, but it's like, well, all the teams have the guys that you're talking about. So it's going to come down to who would the Red Sox prefer. And I don't know, unless, the Red Sox might be like me and really like Chad Kuhl and be like, all right, let's try to get our hands on him. But it's like, Benintendi? I don't know.
because again, Chad Kuhl only has 2 years left as well. I mean, it's
yeah. I would be comfortable with that one. You know, I think again, Chad Kuhl can present himself to be a good pitcher, probably a very elite type reliever. But at any regards, he can show himself and prove himself to be a good pitcher and can do that this year. But that might be the gamble I'm willing to take. Like I would gamble Kuhl, who it's like we're not going to get probably a very interesting return for. So let's go ahead and do this because this could be more interesting. And if we lose out on it, it's almost like getting, you know, the number 10 prospect in someone's system and it just turns out that doesn't, you know, become anything. Is a bust. Like who cares? You know, at least Benintendi is a major leaguer. You know that for sure.
Yeah.
So I would be okay with a Kuhl, but yeah, like a Musgrove, that's your chip. You got to get something, you know, of value and looking for your future, not some guy like Benintendi to hope to flip again.
No, exactly. It doesn't make sense to trade Musgrove for Benintendi whatsoever. And again, I mean, you're kind of hoping that Benintendi can turn into someone with the trade value that Musgrove has. So it just doesn't make any sense to do that.
Yep. All right. And just, you know, let's put out there as far as projections go. I mean, Benintendi is projected for basically a 102 mid run created plus. So 2% above league average. Outside of that one season, he's basically been a league average player. You know, his first career, he's 8% above average. So, and again, like we talk about with Moran, like as a corner outfielder, average isn't average. You know, like if you're hitting for average, you're not that good. So projected a 1.7 WAR. I just don't really. I'm not as hyped. There's a lot of hype around Andrew Benintendi being a Pirate. It's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it would be something that I would welcome it, but I'm not like, oh man, we need to get Andrew Benintendi. it's not making me, you know, excited by any means, but it would be something I would welcome if the package were right.
Speaking of excited, would you be excited because it was stated that the Pirates were going to go? I didn't see any confirmation that they were there, but Corey Kluber had a workout, pitched 35 pitches, all his pitches. Scouts are impressed. I think his fastball was sitting about 90, which at this time of the year is good. You know, you're going to improve velocity as you go closer to the season and such. So he's sitting at 90, his fastball. He looked pretty good. Scouts were intrigued. Corey Kluber to the Pirates. I mean, to me, this has Pirates written all over. Like, this is the type of player you want, right? There's a high risk in Corey Kluber, but there's also a high reward. To spend some dollars, right? You got plenty of them. You haven't spent any money. You have the low, well, not anymore. Cleveland, thank you. Cleveland with the lowest payroll right now. But the Pirates have the second lowest payroll in baseball. Spend it on a Corey Kluber, right? Get him in that rotation. Like, he could potentially become that trade chip by the deadline for you.
100% in on that. Yeah. Again, the Pirates haven't spent any money. They have money to spend. What they should be spending it on are players who that they could potentially, you know, turn into value. And Kluber's definitely one of those. It's been 2 years, right, since we've seen a productive Corey Kluber. But that was mostly due to injuries. But it's, you know, 2 years ago, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. 3 years ago, you could say he was the best pitcher in baseball. So, yeah.
And over a solid period of time, I mean, he's been looked at as one of the better pitchers. You know, I mean, going back to 2004, he's basically been a 5 WAR pitcher or better.
Yeah. I mean, we're not talking about a flash in the pan.
Did I say 4 or 14?
You said 2004, but that was
not that long. We're not looking at pitchers that have been pitching in 2004. Let's not do that.
No. John Lester to the Bucks.
No, please no. Oh God, no.
No, that would be something I would be all in on. I can't imagine he would actually cost a whole lot. I mean, again, he hasn't really pitched in 2 years. So what exactly kind of deal is he commanding?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this guy, perfect candidate, 1 year, $8 million. hopefully has a good year. You can flip him at the deadline. I mean, the Pirates got Cody Ponce for Jordan Lyles. So just kind of think about that. And Cody Ponce is actually a prospect.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not do that? Like those are the types of moves that the 2021 and 2022 Pirates should be doing. Because right now the payroll is just historically low. They can afford to sign some people, and that's just kind of how you can build up your team. I mean, you look at how the Padres did their rebuild, right?
Yeah.
How did they get Fernando Tatis?
Oh,
They signed James Shields and then flipped them, right? So I'm not saying the Pirates are going to get Fernando Tatis.
Yeah,
I
mean, there's a lot of luck in that one too.
With Corey Kluber, but like that's how you build an organization. Is when you suck, sign some guys who you could potentially trade for just people to fill your organ. Just another way to just get talent in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, Kluber, I would be on board that.
I am. And the reason this is like, I mean, of course you got to get past Nutting and through his thick skull, make him understand this, right? The concept. But it's like what the difference in Kluber and Benintendi is all you're giving up is money for Kluber. You know, it's like you're not giving up any of the potential future and prospect for a Benintendi. Like all you're doing is giving up money. You have the same farm, the same players still in your system. You give up some money and you might be able to get more. Like basically what you're doing is you're buying prospects. Okay. So yeah. I'm all in for the Kluber as well. And you're right. I mean, he has been injured. He hasn't had a season where he's been healthy since 2018, but you know, he was a damn good pitcher then. 2.89 ERA and 250 innings pitched, 5.5 WAR. You know, right, the injuries came. He's pitched like basically 36 innings since. But think about this. It's like if you were banking on an Archer return to regain value, it's like, would you rather right now have Chris Archer or would you rather have Corey Kluber? I'm all on board. I'd rather have Corey Kluber. Are you there too?
Yes, I'm on board that.
So if you think like Archer's option was going to be what is 11 million or close to 12 or whatever, and we've talked about, other people talked about like, do you maybe bring back Archer on a better deal? Things have been out there about like 1 year, 8 million. I mean, if it's going to cost about $8 million, to me, I'm ready to make that. Again, I'm not Bob Nutting, but I'm ready to make that investment. Go ahead and get me Corey Kluber. I'll take that chance. It's very likely you trade him at the deadline. And, you know, again, all it did. I'm talking to Bob Nutting, is cost you $8 million this year, opposed to prospects to get Benintendi and try to flip him to get a few more cents on that dollar.
Yeah. No, I mean, it just makes sense. And again, like going back to, I wanted to kind of going back to like the Padres, right? I want to use this because I do feel like this rebuild that the Padres have done is just incredible. I mean, the San Diego Padres were not looking to be competitive in 2016, right? The 2016 San Diego Padres, they were coming off a 74 win season, and they won 68 games, right? But that offseason, they signed James Shields, and they signed him to actually, I think it was a 4-year deal. He pitched 11 games, and then they traded him, for Fernando Tatis Jr. So that's just like I said, one example where, you know, these guys, that's just it's a way to, like you said, they basically bought Fernando Tatis Jr. off the White Sox with James Shields. That's how they acquired him. And I said, teams aren't as dumb as they were back then. I don't think. I don't think we would see something like that. But yeah, it's something. It's another way to get talent into your organization, and all it costs you is money. So it's just a matter of are the Pirates going to spend the money?
That's it. I'm with you. That's why, you know, we can talk about payroll, but it's very bottomed out right now. You know, and obviously with losing Josh Bell, that frees up some money. If you suggest, right, it frees up some money this year. I don't know what the budget is, what the dollar amount, the cap is, but I'm all for Corey Kluber. And I guess to kind of pivot here and move on. So the Pirates also did make a transaction, if you may. They did go ahead and claim Troy Stokes Jr. and DFA'd Nick Turley. This isn't a major deal. I mean, it's not. Of course, we've already seen it, right? World Series Pirates because of this, right? I mean, it just is what it is. Troy Stokes Jr. Meh. I mean, he's a 24-year-old outfield, about to be 25. Just saw AAA in 2019 and was bad, but he's had productive seasons beforehand. He's got some power, he's got some speed, good defense, not a great bat. Obviously, just depth. I mean, that's my take on this. It's just depth, right? I mean, the Pirates need players. So, but I guess what I'm looking at is the DFAing of Nick Turley. I don't know. Thoughts? That was kind of interesting to me.
And Nick Turley's just a guy. There was really nothing that impressed me about Nick Turley with his, in his limited time with the Pirates. I don't know how I feel about Troy Stokes Jr. either. You did mention he actually was pretty productive throughout the lower levels of the minors, and then AAA is kind of where he ran into a little bit of a hiccup. So who knows? There's maybe something there. He was
walks not a really good rate.
He was not on the Brewers' top 30 prospects. If that kind of shows you anything. So, and the Brewers don't exactly have like the greatest farm system,
right?
So, yeah, I'm not like super excited about the deal, but again, Nick Turley is a 31-year-old soft tossing reliever that was fine last year, but like nothing really to get excited about.
No, I guess I'm with you with there. It's not as if I'm looking at Nick Turley in the same sense of like a Chris Stratton or something where, I definitely see a lot of potential there. You're right. I mean, he's a 31-year-old who has had a terrible MLB career, which to his defense, lots of injuries, I understand that, but no more options, 31. He's not in the Pirates' future. I guess it's just like where I'm at is, could he, understanding that the possibility and the probability of it is probably very low, could he maybe have a fine, as you like to say, a fine season this year? And then maybe you're able to get better than Troy Stokes Jr. It's like, like who would you rather have on this team, Stokes Jr. or Turley? So either way, I don't think Turley is anything special that we're losing any sleep over this. But also it's like Troy Stokes Jr. It's like, to me, it just seems like depth. Like you said, like, it wasn't a prospect when he was with the Brewers at the time in 2020. Whatever.
He's a guy.
He's Jim is not Socrates about this transaction.
He's Guillermo Heredia. He's Socrates Brito. He's just a guy.
That's a good call.
Outfield if 6 people get hurt.
Or 7 if the Pirates do end up with Benintendi.
Yeah. I mean, it's I mean, I'm looking at
6
him.
People get
hurt. Yeah, there's not a ton to be excited about.
All right. Yeah.
The walk rate, I guess you could say, nice walk rate.
That I don't know why, but just when I was looking at his numbers, like that really impressed me. Like his walk rate has been very strong. Like, and I don't know, maybe it's like the type of player he is. I guess I just wasn't assuming that to be, but guy gets on base for as low as his actual hitting tool is.
Yeah, I mean he hit 233 in Double-A, but he had a 121 weighted runs created plus, in large part to his on-base percentage being 110 points higher than his batting average.
So. With 19 home runs and 19 stolen bases added too.
Yeah. So Troy Stokes, 2020 player, right?
Yeah.
He almost got to that 2020. He's the next
did.
Acuna Jr.
Sure. Oh my God. Yeah, he's Ronald Acuna Jr. in the making, that's for sure.
Exactly.
All right, so yeah, I mean the Pirates, we're all living in our fears. But I'm all for Kluber. Buyer beware on Benintendi, I guess, for the price. And then Stokes, just a guy. Anything else you want to...
It's a good recap. Good recap.
How about that? Anything else you wanted to discuss, talk about here?
Nothing's really... I feel like we're about to enter a lull here until kind of end of February. I think maybe once spring training starts wrapping up.
When have we not had a lull? Besides the last week of December.
We've been in a lull. Well, I mean, you got to take an effect. We just signed Troy Stokes Jr. So,
yeah, there it is.
I don't know. I think I don't know. I think it's Joe Musgrove. I think Joe Musgrove gets traded before spring training starts. So hopefully that's something to talk about.
Yeah. Well, in my fears, I hope so.
Yes. Living in our fears.
Also,
we
for the better of the show, I hope he's traded as well, so we can talk about something. So you
actually talk about the trade instead of just talking about trading him.
Right. All this speculation.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, I think we'll be back again tonight. So check us out in 12 hours. And we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
All right. See you guys.